Apologize, we're running just a few minutes late here. But I can go ahead and call the meeting to order while our council members are getting settled. So I will call the public hearing and regular business meeting of mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, August 14th, 2023 to order. We do have a quorum. Everyone is present. We'll start tonight with the invocation to be given by Chaplain Elizabeth Hendrick.
Good evening. If we can bow our heads, let us pray. Holy and gracious God, we give you thanks for this day and for the city of Snellville. We especially give you praise and thanks, gracious God, for the new businesses that are coming to the town center and for the celebration of the centennial that begins this weekend. We pray, gracious God, that you give us good weather, safe traffic, and celebration by all who will attend. And now, gracious Father, we are going to ask that you pour out your spirit and grace upon Mayor Bender and this council as they deliberate the business of this city. Lead them to wise decisions and right actions for the welfare of this community. We ask all this in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. And now, if you will stand for the pledge to be led by Dave Emanuel. Thank you, Dave. We have no ceremonial matters, so we'll move to the minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 24th specially called meetings and regular meetings.
There is a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. We have no invited guests or department reports, so we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda of the August 14th, 2023 public hearing and regular business meeting of the mayor and council.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So with a motion and a second, all in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. So now we'll move to our public hearing agenda items. We'll have item A, public hearing on the 5-year update to the Snellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan adopted on February 11th, 2019. We have someone, Jim Somerville from Jacobs to give us a little presentation. How are you? It's been a little while, maybe 5 years?
Yeah, about 5 years, yeah. No, it's good to be here this evening. And tonight I just want to give a real brief sort of overview of the project. This is the official public kickoff for the 2045 Comprehensive Plan Update. What I really want to do tonight is go over the goals, the schedule, but most importantly, I want to provide the public an opportunity to understand how they can be involved in the process and talk about the overall schedule, how where they can best plug in, and most importantly, also how they can contact us if they do want to get involved. So this is the overall planning process. It's basically it starts with a community vision. This is a vision-driven plan. As you know, we've have a very good base to start from 5 years ago. And our goal is to validate that vision, try to identify any priority needs, opportunities that are going to happen for the next 5 years, and then come up with a strategy for the city and how to address that, including the citywide policies, the character areas, and a work program for the next 5 years. So this is a requirement of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. It is required for the city to maintain its qualified local government status, so there's a practical reason behind this. That status allows you to receive state funding and be eligible for state grants. It also serves, of course, as a a framework for making capital investment decisions by the council, as well as making rezoning decisions. And it is comprehensive. I mean, we'll include topics covering land use, transportation, housing, economic development, and quality of life. Our challenge for the next coming months, of course, is to review all the planning that's gone on since the last plan update, to involve local stakeholders, see what's going on, and making sure that this next plan update reflects truly the city's vision for the next 5 years. The overall goal, of course, is to really try to coordinate all that and to really provide you all with a good, practical 5-year work program. You know, we'll work closely with your city staff and, of course, you all as elected officials and make sure that we are trying to capture as best we can such important things as the city budget, any kind of strategy documents you have going forward, and, of course, any kind of vision that you have for the next 5 years. All right, so this is how you can get involved. We actually just launched the website is snellville2045.org. We also will have online surveys on there, so when people plug in, they can provide input. I think we got 2 of them, I think, addressed in the scope. We'll have an open house coming later in the process, so people can see what kind of plans we'll come up with and ask questions accordingly. And of course, we'll have an adoption public hearing. All that is set for February of 2024, so we have a quick turnaround. Our goal is to have a good draft by December so we can transmit that to the Atlanta Regional Commission and the State Department of Community Affairs for their review before it comes back here to make sure that we checked all the boxes, everything that they require of our local plan. All the yellow dots you see up there on the schedule are the points of public input, including the website, the public hearing, stakeholder interviews, which we actually started last week, and we're continuing trying to do some follow-up on those. And of course, we have a community task force whose first meeting will be tomorrow, and we have 4 meetings of that task force set aside in the schedule, giving them key kind of points in each of the phases of the project, including, like I say, we're just now in the assessment phase. We'll then go into vision and goals, go into implementation planning, and then finally, putting everything all together in the final report. So that is it in a nutshell. This is our contact information. Of course, Jason is always here. You can contact him if you have any trouble reaching myself or Jonathan Corona, who's our senior planner on the project, helping me out. So with that, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any council questions for Mr. Somerville? Nope.
All right.
Thank you. This item is a public hearing item, so I will open the floor to public comment, or if you have questions on the planning process. We may not answer all of the questions here tonight, but if you have any questions or concerns or would like to make a comment on the 5-year update, please step forward and provide your name and address for the record, please.
Catherine Hardrick, 2280 Buckley Trail, Snellville, 30078. You mentioned that you reached out to the stakeholders. What was the process in doing that? Who did you reach out to? Like, what did that entail? Did we have to, as a community, did we get a notification, an email, something on the website for us to sign up to say, I'm interested in being a part of it? Because if we don't know, if this is the first time we're hearing of it, how can we get of our 20,000 citizens involved? So what process are we doing to make that happen?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. And Jim, did you want to address that now? How the initial, I guess, interviews were picked, and then...
Sure. Well, we started with the initial stakeholder list that was generated, of course, with support of the city staff, and I believe as well as council. We tried to come up with names of key stakeholders in the community. But like I say, this is just the first round. We've just started all that, and in fact, that's the main purpose for tonight's meeting, is to let the public know how they can get involved. And of course, if there are any key stakeholders or additional people that would like to have input on it, that's why I'm here. And so, yeah, I mean, I welcome any kind of input, and like I say, there'll be plenty of opportunities for them to join in. So.
Okay, and then we'll be publishing, and it'll be on the website as well.
Most certainly will be, yeah.
All of
all the draft materials and everything there, and so we welcome public comment. I mean, this is intended to be a transparent and open process. So, like I say, we're just starting, And yeah, we look forward to hearing from everyone. You guys an interest in this process.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Sure.
So that concludes item A, the public hearing on the 5-year update. So now we'll move to item B, second reading, RZ 23-03, SUP 23-02, consideration and recommendation on applications by Split Silk Properties LLC, the applicant, representing High Point Development, contract purchaser, and the Kroger Company, who's the property owner, requesting to amend the official zoning map from BG General Business District to MU Mixed Use District, and special use permit and variances from the Unified Development Ordinance for a mixed-use development consisting of 300 stacked flat units, 28 single-family residential townhomes, and 51,000 square feet of commercial retail buildings on a 22.85 plus or minus acre site located at the intersection of US Highway 78, Athens Highway, and Rosebud Road, 1000 Highway 78, Snellville, Georgia, and that is tax parcel 51065. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, public, for being here tonight. Let me set this up real quick. Get a little closer. There's also a board up here if you guys want to take a vote. All right. Tonight we're here to consider RZ 23-03 and SUP, or special use permit application 23-02, which runs concurrently with the request to rezone and to be able to build a multifamily residential requires an SUP in Snellville. The size of the parcel is 22.85 plus or minus acres. It's currently zoned BG. It needs to be, the requested zoning is to mixed use district. It is part of the future land use designation for the Highway 78 East Activity Center node, which was changed and amended by the city several months ago, closer to a year now, in order to accommodate this type of development in the future. Again, the special use permit request is for multifamily dwellings. The project, as you can see in front of you, consists of 300 multifamily units, 28 townhome units, as you can see on the southern portion of the site plan, 51,000 square feet of retail, as the mayor stated, commercial, office, and amenity space, and then you have the commercial space mainly there on the corner of Highway 78 with a plaza and a main entry point from 78, and then 2 access points on Rosebud Road. Just a little history of the property. It was originally zoned, or last zoned, in 2014 or 2015 for what we thought was the new wave at the time, the Super Kroger, right across the street from the existing Kroger. That was zoned for nearly, I think, 75,000 square feet of retail space for Kroger to sell pretty much everything under the sun, including, anyways, Kroger thought that they needed to be in the land development business. They did not really thrive in that, so they decided to stay with the Kroger's there, renovate, and then the property went up for sale, which has been for sale pretty much since that time. Had a couple of different proposals, but this is the first one that was ever made it all the way into zoning for the applicant's submitted project. So that's a little background. It's the request. They also had a few variances that I'll go over specifically, but first I want to go over the comprehensive plan recommendations. Basically, this development comes on the heels of a comprehensive plan that identified areas within the city where we wanted to create nodal type development to allow for some of the existing green space between these nodes. One was recognized here, one at 78 and 84. Or isn't it 84 up and down? Yeah, 84 Grace and New Hope, or Grayson Parkway, whatever they call it on that side. Anyways, by the Quick Trip there. And those were the two nodes that were identified. And the key point was to consolidate development and allow for the mixture of uses so that the car trips are cut down. Most of the multifamily you see on these nodal type of areas and other places are typically just garden style multifamily. We felt like there's benefit to provide a commercial aspect to that, and even some single family owner occupied units within the same development, so that it would cut down on car trips, and it really creates almost like, and not on the same scale, a mini grove to the place. You have your food, your shops, you have ground level retail on the bottom for a lot of the building, offices, and then you have a kind of an inclusive development with multifamily, townhomes, and it will even be, I believe, the residential portion will be gated and walkable to the plaza and stuff. So as far as the comp plan goes, it complies. We actually even wrote a zoning code after the comp plan to accomplish or to govern kind of what you see here. So this was the first development that came underneath it, underneath this code. So there's a few variances requested. I want to just go through real quick just some of the, you can see for yourself the site plan, how it kind of, the big L creates the main building. They have different green spaces, a nice amenity area. Then you have, I believe there's 22-ish townhomes there that will have a private drive there that will face each other, and it will be well buffered behind there on Rosebud. And through the process, we've also found that the applicant or the owner to the south is interested in developing some kind of housing below there, and they're also interested and willing, and as part of the ordinance will require to do some kind of shared drive there to push that drive down even a little further away from that problem intersection we've got there. Everybody knows the traffic is awful there. Most of that traffic is pass-through traffic too. So it's people up and down Rosebud, north and south, and then just the lack of improvements that have been done to the system, the county and state system on Rosebud and Highway 78 at the corner of the Stone House, just because there's no right-of-way there. There's no turn lane. They can't expand it. That's all part of the traffic report that's in there. It makes recommendations on how to fix, or not fix, but not make the traffic any worse. As much as we can say for traffic is this is about half of what the Kroger would have been. So we're trending down for what would be there. Retail is a huge driver as opposed to residential. There's just not as many trips. Let the applicant speak to that. There's an exhaustive list of recommended traffic improvements. The county will govern that through the state as well. As far as what actually happens, the city has, outside of general layout, has no control over the improvements. We did send it to the county on the front end though, so we got some good recommendations to go by as well. So I want to get into just a few of the variances that kind of popped up. There's a requirement for non-residential uses from 20 to be at least 25%. That's done to make sure somebody doesn't build a 400-unit apartment and then throw up a corner store and call it mixed use. In this case, the city asked that they mix in some more housing options. So in order to get the townhomes in, which require pretty large footprints compared to the other stuff, they had to be able to vary from that 25% down to 18%, a direct request from the city. So we recommend approval for that. It's also a part of the code that protects the development from just building the apartments and leaving without the commercial. So that's tied to a square footage, and it's, I think you've only allowed up to 100 dwelling units per 10,000 square feet. So the way it's laid out, because they lost the other stuff, the other space to provide commercial, they don't have as much commercial to build, so they're asking to complete the 300 multifamily units while only building the ground floor retail in the main building, the big L, for now, what we've done to ensure the best we can that the commercial will get done. It's kind of the chicken or the egg. Do you build the residential and then let the commercial come in? That's typically what happens. You don't want to build tract buildings that can't meet tenant standards. So what we've done is condition the approval, our recommendation for approval, to require that at the time the COs are issued for the residential, they have to have those spine roads in. The front main road, and then the two that come out to the side and then wrap around the back of the building as part of it. I believe I have just a little exhibit to kind of hold them there, that this will be built at the time. So then it creates places for the commercial office to come in and fill that need. So the basis will be there. It helps them to get the commercial in as well. It'll feed the townhomes. So that was the second variance. Interparcel access, we removed that one through the process because they are going to give it on the bottom. They cannot give it to the west. There's like a giant ravine there. So we did allow for that variance. Hold on. The site density, we allowed them up to 15. The code allows for 13, but because of a lot of times when you get these tiny developments, and not to labor on, is in order to provide the amenities, the nicer stuff, the pools, the green space, you have to have a right number to get you there. And usually that means more units or more expensive units, but normally it's more doors so that you can bring the whole development up. So given what's being provided here, we recommend approval at 15 units per acre. It's pretty spread out with the parking as well. We covered that one. The other issue we ran into deals specifically with the townhome street and the width and trying to meet the demand for a 22-foot driveway, a wide enough road, but not so wide that it won't fit. So I think after working through some of the issues, kind of been settled that the road pavement will be 24 feet. Thus the request. 1.5 foot curb and gutter on each side with a roll type curb, not your hard curb. So it basically makes the street a little bigger. And there's a condition specifically in the approval recommendation that there will be no parking on the street. So that kind of eliminates your problem. Like Councilman Warner always says, just drive down the Preserve at Briscoe and you'll see what happens when the streets are too skinny. So those are the variances. They were many more. We pared them down through site revisions and stuff like that. Those are the last 5. I would like to mention that there was last 6, a typo before you guys get there in number 5. In the ordinance, if you should, there's a couple numbers mixed. We've discussed it. Just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it. But outside of that, that's really the key pinch points. I think to have created a comp plan, executed the comp plan, built an ordinance, and now having a development in front of you that meets pretty much, the council's done a really good job in planning that corner, and it's a standout to me to what's down the road in Loganville. The big garden stuff, totally different. So we have an opportunity to raise the bar here, I believe, with a product type that's going to dominate the housing market for a long time. You know, multifamily is coming. There's no way we'll never stop it, and we shouldn't just want to build it the right way for sustainability, and I believe this does that. But if you guys have any questions on specific details, I'm happy to answer those.
Are there any council members that have questions for Mr. Thompson?
Well, you knew I'd have one, Mayor. On variance number 3, which talks about going up to the 15 units per acre, that's actually a response to our request to change some of the originally proposed office space or retail space into those owner-occupied single-family homes.
It
correct?
did drive the number up.
Okay.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that
Right.
it was in the record for the public that
Correct.
that was at a request of mayor and council, so we could get a richer community with
Right.
not just
Right.
renters, but also homeowners within that development.
Agreed. Yep.
Councilmember Manuel?
The buffering on the Rosebud Road side, could you speak to that and what
I will.
they have to do? Do we need it?
In the space that Councilman Emmanuel is talking about is kind of right here where these are. I think the concern, and it's valid, is that nobody wants to look at these people's porch furniture as you're going down. Well, there's a requirement here, typically where you're against any arterial road for a buffering plan here. It basically becomes a very dense 10-foot landscape strip. It can require a fence, some trees, whatever we kind of feel like is the best long-term sustainable solution. And I would just allow the applicant to speak to what their plans are specifically there, but there is a requirement to buffer and shield the backs of the homes that currently exist in the UDO, in the landscape ordinance.
Any other council members have a question?
Jason, for the record, the published agenda packet has an ordinance in it with conditions 1 through 11, which was accessible on our website. However, the applicant has agreed to an additional 2 conditions. Could you talk about those two conditions for everybody?
I can, thank you. And we did talk about one of them. It was the ability, the street width on number 12 is basically just, again, just making sure that the expectation is known. Now, number 13, we've had some issues in the past with concerns over stormwater management facilities or detention ponds, retention ponds, whatever you want to call them these days, and their effect on aesthetics. And I think this condition is pretty good. If it's closer than 75 feet, has to be densely buffered, and I believe that to be the one on the northern end. The other side is going to be more of a wet pond. It's going to be a feature, so we won't want to buffer it up, but it'll be used by. But up the front, they'll be required by this condition, so we got some teeth to make sure that it's buffered with a fence, trees, or whatever it takes to make sure we're not staring at a dry detention pond off of 78. Yep, thank you.
Jason, one other question. On the townhomes, I understand that we've got we'll have the requirement in there for no on-street parking, but where are the extra parking spaces going to be available?
Here's some overflow, I believe, to the north. Looks like 8 to 10 spaces, and I believe they can also have access here. And I'll let the applicant speak. I believe that's all going to be one shared space, but these for sure are extra. I think there's 6 or 7. I don't know the exact count. I'll let them speak, but there is overflow parking. There's also, so they don't park in the street. You guys will, a few years back, change
Driveways.
from tiny driveway to now 22 feet. So you can get 2 cars in that driveway, 2-car garages. So hopefully the necessity for street parking will be diminished. And if it's not, you have a spot for the few cars. You know, everybody uses their garage for storage these days anyways. There's no cars in there hardly anymore. But there seems to be enough room with the major lot and then the other one. Oh, we did change one other condition. I wanted to speak to it. It's number 4, and it was a request for just the
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And now we will hear from the applicant. You will have 15 minutes to state your case. You may reserve your time if you'd like for after public comment. Mr. Timler. I know you're tall, but if you could speak as much as you can in there and project as best you can so everybody can hear.
I'll lean over like I'm eating. Okay. All right. So anyway, Jeff Timler, Split Silk Properties, representing High Point Development. Charles Moore is in attendance with High Point Development. I also have Corbett Woods, who's representing the townhome development here this evening. As you know, we've been working on this property about 18 months. And besides the zoning, we've had a lot of challenges. We still have rock outcroppings to deal with, which is very expensive from a development standpoint. Sewer access is another one that we've overcame. And of course, over the last 18 months, you all have been kind enough to amend the land use map to basically facilitate this type of development. And if you're familiar with High Point Development, they're formerly named TPA Residential. They have a track record that's undeniable. They have successful developments in Grayson, Swanee, Buford, Cumming, Alpharetta. So you know what you're going to get this evening with these folks. And also, as Jason mentioned, this is an opportunity to not just have another big box retailer. You have ability to create a place where people can live, work, and play. This is going to be a $100 million development. Right now, it's currently assessed at $3 million. So the tax increase is going to be a windfall for the city. Obviously, that's not the only thing you look at when you look at these developments, but it's going to by far more than pay for any services generated. Clearly a financial winner. The only knock, as we know, is transportation. This intersection has been failing for years. Our transportation study indicates that it's been failing. But as Jason mentioned a minute ago, we're going to reduce the traffic counts by 3,600 trips a day with this development compared to Kroger. Kroger had, obviously, the superstore, it had gas pumps. It was going to be a major detriment to that intersection. However, this might be the catalyst in our hopes for the Gwinnett County and the state DOT to actually take care of this intersection and really create a better situation for everybody. Assuming we get through the zoning, which I think we are, we've worked through a lot of conditions and we're all amenable to these conditions. This development will take about 2 years. It's that big and it's that substantial of a development. As I mentioned before, the development costs are extremely high. We plan on mass grading the site, including the out parcel that's not included in this parcel. This is the maxi price piece on the corner of the old block building. We've talked to them and we'd like to grade that at the same time. It would open up the corner and make it a cleaner corner. He so far has agreed to that verbally, so that's not in stone yet. We are, again, in agreement with staff recommended conditions and the Planning Commission recommendations. We had no opposition. I've not received one phone call on this in opposition to this case. Clearly, it meets the comprehensive plan. To address the landscaping on Rosebud, yes, we would like to do a decorative fence, probably like something like a wrought iron, black fence that most people do. We also would like some evergreen trees as well. I mean, the city's landscape ordinance is very robust, as you know. But evergreen trees would be a great enhancement there. We have limited space with the width of the landscape strip. We have to put a decel lane in there. But yes, we would like to obviously screen that for the residents and for the overall view of the property. And then condition, let's see. Yes, condition 13, Jason talked about within 75 feet of the public right-of-way, any stormwater management facility would be screened with opaque fence or actually it says and heavily landscaped. My client has asked if we could just make that an or. The landscape ordinance is as you know, is very robust, as I mentioned a minute ago. So an opaque fence we think would be sufficient if we could get that consideration in this motion as an or. because again, we have to do landscape ordinance anyway. And I think that addresses those two questions. Again, this is a credible opportunity to create a live, work, play facility instead of just a shopping center. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the mayor and council. And if there are none, I'd like to reserve the balance of my time to address any comments or concerns from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. On that either or, which variance was that?
Number 13.
And the conditions?
We may not even have a pond within 75 feet, but if we do, I think the concern was, talking with Mayor Pro Tem Warner, is that it be screened from the public view, and an opaque fence. Typically, they have to be 4 feet anyway. All the ponds have to have a 4-foot fence, kind of like a pool, basically. So to have an opaque fence with slats in it or something that screens the visibility would be fine with us. And of course, we obviously have to comply with the landscape ordinance anyway.
Okay. Are there any questions of the council for Mr. Timler?
One concerning what you just mentioned. If we strike the planting, I just want to make sure on condition 13 that we don't end up with a chain link fence that has been put in some other ponds that front 78 and other jurisdictions. Right. They're very, very unattractive. Want to make sure that when your client builds out that commercial area, it's very inviting and looks the best it can, and I don't want whoever the retailers are that come in to be saddled with a chain link fence looking at a detention pond. So that would be my only issue with striking the word "and." I just want to make sure that, again, your client ends up with the best product possible.
Right,
So,
and that's their concern as well, because obviously we want to market to really good retailers, and to have an eyesore up front wouldn't really benefit us either. So an opaque fence, I don't think you really want wood fence because of the maintenance and longevity.
We're fine to leave that language. We were just talking about it. We're going to comply with, there's a robust landscape code anyway. We're going to comply with your staff regardless. And so, to me, when we first read it, it was kind of confusing because we knew we had to comply with what was in place anyway. But
this is Charles Moore, by the way.
I'm sorry, Charles Moore, 1776 Peachtree Street. But we're fine to leave it like it is because we want it to look nice as well.
okay, awesome.
Thank you.
And one other item that came up during the discussion was, as we were working through all the issues on this application, was the rear facade of the units. I believe you brought something.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure that it didn't look just like the undescript rear side of the house. Do you have anything to show us on that?
Yeah, we submitted this, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. I don't know. It's been a minute, but these examples of the renderings of basically what the side and the rears would do. We also have some more pictures over here. That's examples. And these are products already in place. I mean, around like Lawrenceville, for example. And I think the council's intent was it would be broken up, so it wouldn't all look the same. So if you'd be able to tell where your house is, basically, that's the idea. And so, obviously, from a marketability standpoint, this is what the client wants as well.
Okay, thank you very much. For those of y'all in the crowd who couldn't see, the rear elevation actually shows some different kind of siding rather than just all the typical hardy plank that you see on every house. Some what?
Some shake siding.
Yeah, some shake siding to divide it up, and also with a accent line dividing it so it doesn't just look like the rear of a housing development that nobody ever wanted to see. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Gretchen?
Mr. Timler,
Yes, ma'am.
I think a big concern for many of us Snellville residents is that Highway 78 Rosebud intersection. It's such a mess now. Have you had any preliminary discussions with DOT to see what might be done at that intersection? Do you have any projections as to what they're thinking of doing there?
Well, right now, the short answer is they don't have anything. There's nothing on the SPLOST program. It's either tier 2, from what I've talking to DOT, they have nothing right now. And obviously the state's involved too. And so hopefully this will be a catalyst to say, hey, wake up, y'all need to do something here. But also that corner that's not a part of this property, which is not in the city, that is the linchpin, and the state's probably gonna have to acquire that piece to get in enough right of way to make a right turn there and make that intersection function better. Because right now, obviously, it has, if you look at the transportation study we submitted, when we submitted our application, it has several time periods during the day where that intersection is failing. Obviously, it's during, yes, it's pretty much, right, it is.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Timler, I know the applicant has been in discussion with the adjacent property owner to bring a combined drive to that back property line,
sir.
Which would actually move the access away from the intersection of 78 and Rosebud, approximately, what, about another 200 yards away from, well, it's probably not that much, but further back, so there wouldn't be direct contact. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I failed to mention that. Yes, we're in discussions with the adjoining property owner. Right now, we have a verbal agreement with them in terms of having a shared access should they get zoning. Right now, they're not zoned for what they're wanting to do. But if that happens, and that's one of the conditions that you have before you this evening, is basically it requires us to work with the Gwinnett DOT and have a shared driveway, and we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of council?
You
Mr.
show
Timmer?
a driveway almost directly opposite the driveway to the Kroger Shopping Center, the entryway there.
Yes, sir.
I assume that's going to be right in, right out only?
We haven't got an answer yet, but probably logical. I think so. Yes, sir. Yeah, I don't think there's a choice. I mean, you pretty much can't turn left out there anyway.
Any other questions of council for Mr. Thompson or Timler? Yeah, whoever you are. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Timler, you'll have 10 minutes and 18 seconds for rebuttal.
18 seconds, that's it?
No, 10 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now I will, I'm about to open the floor for public hearing. I just want to make sure that the audience understands that we'll have 15 minutes for those for the project and 15 minutes for those in opposition. And this is a total time period, not per person. So you may please come forward. We're speaking on this development rezoning only. If you would, I'm sorry, and the special use permit. So if you have any questions or concerns or want to speak in favor of, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. This is in favor of the project. Okay. If there is anyone who would like to speak in opposition to, then please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Hartley Faldheim. I live at 3278 Brooks Drive. It's a Loganville address, but our property adjoins the additional development that is proposed, not this development, but my concern, I'm not totally against it, but I'm extremely concerned about Rosebud Road. That exit, if you're going to develop housing and additional housing in the other property and one exit out onto Rosebud, it's horrible right now. At times almost impossible. And it forces us to exit through the subdivision and out onto 78. The people, our back fence neighbor, her only exit is on Rosebud, and she has horse trailers, and she finds it darn near impossible. So I implore you to make sure that this traffic problem is really addressed as this progresses, because it's going to be awful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else that would like to speak to this project? Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing. Mr. Timler, would you like any rebuttal time, or?
Just real quick, obviously, it's existing traffic. There's nothing we can do about that. But as you know, it's currently zoned for Kroger, so really, we're saving 3,600 trips a day with this zoning compared to what could happen tomorrow. They could submit plans tomorrow for a Kroger and develop a Kroger tomorrow with a lot more traffic. So unfortunately, the traffic is existing. There's nothing we can do about that. But again, we hope that this will be the catalyst for the Gwinnett DOT and state DOT to actually do something here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also address that?
If you want, yes.
Again, Charles Moore, 1776 Peachtree. The only other thing I wanted to address with the traffic is we hope that by working with the property on the property owner on the corner, taking down the rock house that's there, bringing that down to grade, it doesn't. There would still need to be action by DOT to take that property, but at least we're back down to grade. The entire site's cleared. You can see through it, and we just dress up that corner. It doesn't necessarily help the traffic, but I think it creates an avenue for the state to come in and at least see the problem, and we're in contact with that property owner, so it kind of creates an avenue to address it.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I would also say, too, several council members and our city managers and planning director, Mr. Thompson, all had a meeting several months ago, just a check-in meeting with our county commissioner, Jasper Watkins, who covers that area, just to let him know some of the future development talks, people that we've heard. There's developers out there, of course, kicking tires. Again, this is the only project that has come before us as an actual application, but we are aware of some other developers out there talking about different areas of the city. And so we just did a check-in meeting with the county so they kind of knew where we might have potentially down the road have some other developments coming in. And this was one of the developments or the properties that we discussed with them, and this intersection. As Mr. Timler alluded to, that rock house there, the person that originally owned that property would not move until she passed away, and I think she was well over 100 years old when she passed. Pardon? She was 108 when she did pass away. So, that's why nothing has happened. There has been no intersection improvements there in the past because of her desire, and she owned the property, so there was no requirement for her to sell. But hopefully, it is on the county's radar. Hopefully it will be on the state's radar that we could get some action on this intersection going forward, because this is not the only development. The county did turn down another big apartment complex across 78 from Kroger. So there is other land out in that area that's just going to continue to put some issues on this area of the city. Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion. We'll need two motions, and first we will do the rezoning motion, so RZ 23-03, and then after that, we will take up the SUP.
Okay. Motion to approve RZ 23-03 which will include the staff recommended variances as listed in the published agenda packet, variances 1 through 6, with one amendment. Variance number 5 should read, approval of variance from table 401-52, minimum widths for new streets and project access improvements to reduce the 27 feet pavement width, 30 feet, including curb and gutter, requirement to 24 feet pavement width, 27 feet, including curb and gutter. Also including the staff recommended conditions 1 through 11, again, as published in the agenda packet, with 2 additional conditions. Number 12, applicant will place signs prohibiting on-street parking and signage directing visitors to the overflow parking to the north. Pavement width shall be 24 feet and 27 feet total to back of rollback curb. Also, condition number 13, any stormwater management facility that is located within 75 feet of a public right-of-way shall be screened with an opaque fence and heavily landscaped with evergreen trees and or shrubs as approved by the planning director. And that is my motion.
So there is a motion to approve RZ 23-03 with the amendments that were read. Is there a second?
Second.
So there is a motion and a second. Are there any council comments?
Madam Mayor, I would just like to add to the record that I've had discussions with the Gwinnett Transportation folks who've both been out here for public input and at GJAC to discuss our coming microtransit, extending their reach all the way out to include this development. And they said that that would absolutely be something that they would do once there's the development out there to service. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the traffic and trip issues. Just wanted to make sure that was in the record.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Any other council members like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, then I will call for the vote. All in favor of approving RZ 23-03, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor, so none are opposed. The rezoning has passed. Now we will take up the special use permit 23-02. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve SUP 23-02.
There's a motion to approve the SUP. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. So all in favor of approval of the SUP, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. Very good. Thank you so much. So that completes our public hearing. We have nothing under our consent agenda, old business or new business, so we will now move into council reports, and we'll start with Councilmember Solange Destang.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My journey to the City Council was to improve relationships with our diverse community here in Snellville. I want all voices to be heard and embraced. Snellville is comprised of different cultures. We have approximately 38 Black, 36% white, 9% Latino, and 7% Asian constituents. This is a diverse community with very little inclusion. When I ran, part of my platform was to bring all of our cultural communities together. Though some progress has happened, sadly, it isn't enough. I am very disappointed with my fellow councilmen. I have expressed my disappointment and dissatisfaction to them to no avail. Although they have told and shown me over and over again that I'm one vote, I will always be your voice. I have and continue to push for everyone to feel valued and welcomed by our city. I will always do that on or off this council. COVID happened. It hit our business community really hard. Once we could meet in person, I sponsored a small business symposium here at City Hall with no council members attending to hear from our small business community. Since that time, I partnered with a business nonprofit and the county's economic development department to try and assist our local small businesses that were seriously hit hard. Recently, because we received ARPA funds that we have not all used, I submitted a proposal to create a one-time grant of $500,000 to help at least 1,000 of our at-risk small businesses. Again, my fellow councilmen said no. Their answer was to let our small businesses reach out to the county. They felt that not our city, but the county should rescue our small businesses. I was raised that help begins at home first. I asked my fellow council members to look at creating a youth center so our children could have a safe place to grow and learn. Again, my fellow council members said Snellville didn't need or wanted a youth center. I have tried to help our local small businesses, but I have watched many lose their fight because this council stood by and did nothing. Recently, there was a verbal attack yet again on our Juneteenth celebration. This year, the council refused to assist with the celebration. Only the mayor and one city council member attended. This is proof that this council refuses to embrace inclusion. As a city, we are diverse, but as a council, we do not embrace the celebrations of our diverse cultural community. We must embrace true inclusion. Inclusion with a bid process, inclusion with a paid Juneteenth holiday for our employees, inclusion with our council helping our at-risk small businesses suffering from the effects of COVID, inclusion of having a safe space for our children, inclusion in hearing the needs of our community. We are about to celebrate 100 years of Snellville, yet our event is not reflective of our present cultural community. After much praying and consulting with our community, I realized that we still have so much work to do. I have decided that to move our community forward in a positive way, I am officially asking our community to stay engaged, speak out with a loud voice, and hold us accountable. I want to continue to be your voice. This is why tonight I am officially announcing my intention to run for re-election to City Council Post 2. And on that note, I want to wish you a safe trip home, and God bless. See you again in another 2 weeks. Stay blessed. Good night.
Thank you, Solange. Councilmember Linsky.
As many of you know, last school year I did decide to retire with my 30-year service in education. However, this year I started a new role in a part-time capacity, and we also have entered a new era for South Gwinnett High School. Principal Rodney Jordan hired on this year, and he has done an outstanding job in the past 2 weeks. I mean, we've only been in school a week and a half, but we are seeing so many good relationship connections. He has provided the backbone to us that we so long needed. And what an excellent role model he's been. So please, if you can, get involved in any event in the community. Just come out to a football game. See what's happening. PTSA can always use more support at South Gwinnett High School. Things are looking up and very positive this year. In addition to some of the positive things that we're seeing this last week, my Snellville Youth Commission had its first meeting on Saturday. We had 24, one of the largest groups we've ever had, attend, and they are very interested in full membership. That included students from Shiloh High School, South Gwinnett High School, Brookwood High School, and also Gwinnett Science, Math, and Technology School. So we're really excited to begin working with the students. Our next meeting is planned for September 9th, and the students would really like to invite all of the candidates for Snellville elections, and we'll know who those individuals are next week, because municipal election qualifying period begins on Monday, the 21st of August, and ends on the 23rd. So if you're planning on running, please look out for an email from Snellville Youth Commission, and we're hoping that you will participate.
Thank you, Christy. And Councilmember Schultz.
I'd like to follow Ms. Slinsky's comments with some positive things that I've seen going on in the community also. Last Thursday night, I couldn't think what night it was, Council members Warner, Linsky, and I all attended the Snellville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association meeting. One of the highlights of that meeting, for those of us that attend, is always having an officer tell us about some of the interesting cases that they've been involved with during the past month. And last Thursday night, we were shown a video, both the dash cam and the body cam videos from a pursuit that Sergeant Madiak was involved in. He was asked to assist the Loganville Police Department in the pursuit of a person that they were wishing to stop. And Sergeant Madiak joined the pursuit on Highway 78 in front of South Gwinnett High School. This was at 3 a.m. in the morning, so you know traffic wasn't too much of a factor at that point, but they went all the way down, turned onto Highway 124, went all the way down to Sugarloaf Parkway, and they had to pursue this person at speeds of 90 miles an hour. And they turned on to Sugarloaf Parkway, and Sergeant Madiak had received the okay to do a pit maneuver. He performed an absolute perfect pit maneuver, and it just amazes me at what our officers, how they risk their lives for us every day. And I think they don't receive all the credit that sometimes they are due, because to me, watching this was absolutely harrowing to see what they do and how successful they are at the job that they do. And I just want to say thank you to our officers. And then today, some of us were involved in the Snellville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association golf tournament. Kelly McAloon and I sold tickets for raffle tickets and mulligan tickets and collected money this morning. And I think Mr. Warner drove the beverage cart this afternoon. But that organization does so much to support our police officers. And I encourage any of you that have not gone through the Snellville Citizens Police Academy yet to make a point to do so. You will learn so much, and you'll develop such an appreciation for our officers and the job that they do. So I definitely encourage you to do that. And I'd also like to comment on the fact that I know I'm involved in a project that I feel is very, very inclusive in our community, and that's the Snellville Farmers Market. We have vendors there that represent every continent of the world except Antarctica. And we have people, of course, from all over North America. We have people from South America, vendors from South America. We have vendors from Africa. We have vendors from Asia. We have vendors from Eastern Europe. They come from all walks of life, all countries, all backgrounds. And if you come and you look at our customers that attend, you see a very, very diverse representation of our community. And I just want to take a little issue to the fact that we aren't inclusive, because I think we do many things in this community that are very, very inclusive. And I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with the Snellville Farmers Market in bringing that sense of inclusion and diversity to our community. This Friday at the Farmers Market, we're going to be involved in the centennial celebration. And people that come that wish to dress in dress that would be appropriate for one of the decades of Snellville's 100-year history will be given a ticket to be entered in a drawing that I believe will be done at noon. Is that correct, Kelly? So I encourage you, get out your poodle skirt, get out your shirtwaist dressed and vintage apron, get out your overalls, come dressed for one of the decades of our 100-year history, and you'll have a chance to enter a drawing. Thank you all for coming tonight, and happy 100 years.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Gretchen. Councilmember Emanuel?
My report's not going to be very popular, but I believe it needs to be said following what Mr. Stang said and accused us of. 4 years ago, I walked door to door with her. Everybody on this council supported her nomination and running. She had 3 opponents. We thought that she was the best. We thought she would bring diversity to the council. And since then, there's been a lot of half-truths, untruths, and accusations. We were told initially that she was going to do the Juneteenth. We were neither asked to participate and in fact told ostensibly not to participate. This was her deal. When she ran, my wife did her signs and did her push cards at no charge, did all the graphics. I looked over her push card. There was no mention, absolutely no mention of a community center. So there's been a lot of accusations that are frankly false. And everybody on this council has tried to work for inclusion, and you can't be inclusive when you exclude the rest of the council members. Many of us were out of town on Juneteenth, which happens to be Father's Day, had previous commitments. And again, we were pretty much told we don't want you, we don't want your help, until there was a basic need for help, and then more false accusations. So when this election comes up, I would advise everybody to take a look at the record, not the false accusations. Thank you.
Thank you,
Can I-
Dave.
can I
Mayor
make a
Pro Tem.
point of-
No,
point
no,
of
ma'am.
order?
You've had your council report. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Warner?
Well, I'd like to say thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. I'd like to salute our city manager, Butch Sanders, for, I think his team actually won the golf tournament today with a score of 56. I think someone has math skill problems, but yeah, I think either that or they started subtracting on the second 9. I know if I was playing, it would have taken that. It was a great time. It supports a great cause. The Snellville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association supports our police department and our officers naturally, but we also use the money that's raised to supplement items that the police may not be able to get any other way. In the past, we've used the money to not only fund the cop cab, which people see around, which the cop cab is half police car, half cab, and it drives home the point that if you've been drinking, you're probably going home in one or the other. Make your choice wisely. Choose a cab, not the cop car. In the past, we've purchased the K-9 officers and their equipment for the Snellville Police Department. We, over the last couple of years, have found that maybe we need to stop doing that, because every time we gave a police officer a K-9 officer, for myriad of reasons, they ended up leaving the department. And the dog is bonded to that officer, and it's very, very hard for them to rebond with another person, because basically that K-9 officer will protect that officer with their life. And that kind of commitment is not easily broken. So it pains us currently that we have no K-9 officers. But hopefully going forward, we will. We have finally reached a point where the police department is at 100% staffing with a couple of people they have coming out of training and going on. We have a great group of people, and I would stand behind them any day of the week. And I would just say to the voters of the city of Snellville that every single one of our meetings, every single one of our work sessions is recorded. It's on YouTube. It's available on our city website. And if you have any questions about anything that one of your elected officials says or claims, just go watch the video. I know it's very exciting. It's almost as exciting as seeing it live. But you'll get a really good feeling for what people do and what they don't do. But I know we can't always walk hand in hand and sing Kumbaya, but we should try to be united. But it takes both parties, or all parties, in order to be united. So on Father's Day, I was blessed. I spent the time with my children. I apologize if that upsets anyone that I didn't go to their event, that just didn't fit into my schedule. But I look forward to continuing to serve y'all, regardless of who I'm up here with, and I will work as hard as possible, always for you. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Just a couple things in the mayor's report. I would like to give a big shout out to the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce. They were just recently named as the Chamber of the Year for the nation. There is an organization, ACCE. It's the Association for County Chambers I forgot what the E is for. But that organization awarded the Gwinnett Chamber the Chamber of the Year. It was a very long process, but that is really quite a testament to the work that has been put in really over the last 20 years, 25 years with the Chamber. I know I first got involved with the Gwinnett Chamber when I took a job here in the city, and that was around 2000. And Richard Tucker had become the president, or I think he was the executive director of the Chamber at the time, and he really brought the Chamber around. It was kind of floundering for a long time, and he brought it around, and they had several good directors after that, and now under the leadership of Nick Messino, they have just really reached a high point. So just a big shout out. They do an awful lot for the county, for economic development, and along with their sister program, Partnership Gwinnett, they brought a lot of really good jobs, high-paying jobs, and good opportunities here to the county. Next, we are looking in several neighborhoods. We are looking to do some what we call traffic calming circles. We've been talking about these for quite a while, and we are ready to go out to the community for the first neighborhood, and that is Nob Hill. We're looking at possibly putting some of these, they're essentially a mini roundabout. We call them chicanes, traffic calming islands. So we have some preliminary drawings. We have some locations scoped out along Tanglewood. We're going to do a community meeting for that neighborhood Saturday is that this Saturday or the next? A week from Saturday, the 26th. So we'll be coming in to talk to those homeowners, and we hope that we get some good participation, because this isn't anything that we're going to do unless we get support from the community, from those neighborhoods. So Tanglewood was just the first street because they have no opportunity to do speed humps. There also is no opportunity on that road to do run police radar because of the grade and the curves. It's just not possible to do police stops out there. So we'll let you know how that goes. Next, on the Centennial Celebration, I hope you will all come out Friday starting at 4 p.m. There will be lots of activities going on Friday night. A full lineup is in the Snellville Spirit magazine and on Facebook for Experience Snellville, and also on the website. And the city site also has the details of all of the events. So it starts Friday night at 4 o'clock with the Food Truck Friday. Lots of stuff going on with the kids then. And then also on Saturday, Gretchen already alluded to the events going on at the farmer's market. And then Saturday evening starts at 6. 6, lots of events going on with a concert by, you can come up and say, I don't remember. But there's going to be a band that's going to play music from the decades. So come out and enjoy the party, and we'll have a cake that will look like City Hall with 100 sparklers on there. I'm still a little worried about that one. But we hope that you'll come out and join in the fun. And then another thing that was just put together, Friday on the 18th at 11 a.m., we will have the unveiling of our Snell and Sawyer bronze statues in the Grove. So if you can, the bench was moved today. The statues are not out there yet. But we are using the granite benches that you saw out in front of City Hall. Those are actually, they have historical significance. They were the steps to the Consolidated School, which was the rock school that was in Snellville. That's where all the kids went to school. when that was torn down, somebody saved the steps, and those became our benches out here in front of City Hall. So we are using that bench, and the statues will sit on that granite bench from the old consolidated school. So we hope that you'll be able to join us Friday at 11 a.m. on August the 18th, which is this Friday, right? Yeah, this Friday. Getting all my weeks mixed up here. So we hope you'll be able to come out for the unveiling of those statues, but of course, once they're unveiled, they will be there, so you can wander over there whenever you have an opportunity to get your picture made with them. It'd be a great selfie spot. So that is my report for the evening, so I will close the reports and we will open the floor to public comment. You may come forward, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes on one topic, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
5 minutes. My name is Steve L. Thomas. I think I contacted you, Mrs. Bender.
Yes, sir.
About my issue.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever resolve that issue, I wonder?
I
Never
did.
got back in contact with me?
I did. Mr. Sanders was going to call you and let you know what we were doing. He said he left you several messages.
He never did. And I also sent you people emails, and none of those emails were addressed. I never got calls about the issue concerning Snellville Recycling Yard, and I still want something done about that.
Okay.
See, the thing is, Snellville is becoming more of a minority city. You said 38%, didn't you? And I think that's gonna rise. So in time, you won't be the lone voice. If we get out here and mobilize, campaign, and get a better diversity on that council, we'll be able to move things here. And we'll be able to make it better for us all. That Snellville Recycling Center problem I had, that happened back in June the 30th of this year. I wrote the complaint to you people July the 6th, emailed you, and I never got a response. I really didn't want to address the council like this, but I was forced to. And I'm angry because I see the police in this, in the way they, and I know you're for the police, of course. And I see what the police do to a lot of these minority young men, stopping them all the time, focusing on them. And at that recycling yard, the way those men treated me, I was almost arrested and had done nothing. I have, if anybody want to read, I got it right here for you, the statements, the witnesses, and everything that what happened that day. And I'm surprised that as much as I try to get a hold of city council members, you, the mayor, which I did, Mr. Butcham a number of times, no one got back with me about this. And I was almost arrested. I'm 72 years old. I don't want to go to jail. And see, the thing about it, and I only got 2 minutes and 19 seconds, but the thing about it, a black man in this society, when he has contact with the police, anything can happen. And you people know that. A lot of them are killed through traffic accidents and different minor situations, and you're dead behind one of these guys. It's impertinent that we put the right city council up there to protect us too. Not just your own, but to us too. And that's important. And if we get out here and campaign hard enough, you won't be the only voice there, like you said someone said. But we're 38%, like I heard you say. And if we mobilize, people keep coming here to Snellville, then we can change this thing. We can change it. And I've lived in San Francisco, Chicago, Las Vegas. I lived in a number of cities, and I've seen this type of council before. They won't do nothing for you. They talk a good fight, but that's about it. Especially if you're an African American, you can forget it. I've seen it, and we can change it. If we mobilize, get the right people up here, campaign strong, we can change this stuff. That's all I got to say.
Mr. Thomas, thank you for coming. I need your address for the record, please.
It's on the sheet back there, but it's 2375 Stratford Lane.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Guys, take it easy. I'll be campaigning for you. Trust me.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Honorable members of the City Council. My name is Norman A. Carter Jr., 2777 Nathaniel Way, Grayson, Georgia, and I am Snellville proud. When a woman who was a regular attendee at our farmers market felt that she was leaving the market this weekend, the response from other attendees at the farmers market, Councilperson Gretchen and her husband Kurt Schultz, and Councilman Todd Warner, and others, was extremely heartwarming. This is Snellville. Most importantly, our first responders were timely, efficient, and compassionate. While our emergency medical technicians tended to the injured woman, I had an opportunity to join in a brief conversation with Police Officer Rob Pendleton. He arrived to allow Police Officer Thad, sorry I don't have his last name, to return to directing traffic. Lots of folks were out there. As I listened to him, Officer Pendleton, I realized that though decades separate us in this occupation, many of the same stressors I experienced as a police officer continue to exist for these guardians of our community. Just as a side note, it's a study that's way back when I was a police officer, the lifespan of a police officer was 10 years less than the average public. That still exists today. I continue to be a member of several law enforcement organizations. One of them is the Lamplighter Project. 2 weeks ago, we hosted a virtual webinar entitled Sleep Health for Law Enforcement. Our featured speaker was Dr. Stephen James, a police fatigue researcher from Washington State University. In addition to law enforcement officers, he has advised professional sports teams who travel internationally and others who are subject to working in professions where sleep health is important. The revelations in this 2-hour seminar were eye-opening. It is my hope that the Snellville Police Department and other regional departments reach out to Dr. James for either an in-person or virtual seminars. Few citizens have the insight that I have about the difficulties our law enforcement officers experience when it comes to managing healthy sleep habits, when you work long hours, have court appearances, manage family matters, then lastly cram in enough rest to allow for a productive work shift. Sleep deprivation impacts job performance, decision-making, and even one's family life. It is a safety issue as one's reaction time to emergency situations is diminished considerably. Sleep deprivation affects one's mental health. Police officers, EMTs, and fire responders suffer a vastly higher rate of suicide than the general population. In addition to sleep disorders, these public servants see and experience things most of the public will never see or experience. How many of you have seen a 12-year-old girl with her head decapitated by a vehicle moving in the opposite direction? I have, and many officers have seen similar. How many civilians have run into a home and been confronted by someone with a rifle pointed directly at you? I have, and so have many officers. How many of you have experienced the screams of someone trapped in a burning building, that you cannot reach. I have not, but many of our fire persons and police officers have. These are stressors that we as a public must take seriously. Many of these first responders consider it a weakness to seek public help when they become overwhelmed by these stressors coupled with sleep deprivation. It is up to us to give them what they need before a crisis occurs. My hope is that in the coming year, our mayor, council, city manager, and our police and fire chiefs budget time for our first responders to participate in and learn how to better manage their sleep habits and mental health. This is how we honor and protect these essential public servants. Let's move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Catherine Hardrick, 2280 Buckley Trail. Thank you, fellow citizen Norman Carter. I think that was awesome because our first responders do need to make sure they take their mental health, make it a priority. And I'd like to add those of us who are armed forces, our veterans. We too have seen dead bodies, and as a matter of fact, you have the PACT Act for those of us who were in burn pits where we had to burn our dead. So you're absolutely right. All of us need to make sure that we support all of our first responders, to include our brave women and men in armed forces. So thank you for bringing that attention to our community. I have a couple of questions. On July 24th, I was here and I asked about the property on 2234 Rawlings Street. And thank you, Attorney Chuck Ross. You did respond to me regarding that, but I did ask for an email response, written response from Mayor and Council. I also asked about the town green. We mentioned about how the grass is constantly worn after every event. It's not beautiful for us citizens, taxpayers to enjoy after all of our events. I would like a written response to maybe having a turf. Is that something that we can consider? I want a written response to that. I also asked about the liquor applications. I was in the work session today, and you guys had an executive session regarding the why individuals were denied and some other things. It's executive session, I understand that. But why would that be executive session? Why can't we, the public, know why folks were denied? There were, if I'm not mistaken, there were 6 applicants that were denied and 2 approved. Why would something like that not be transparent to the citizens as to why these individuals were denied? That's a question that I would like to have a written response to. Then Primerica property that's over there next to 2234 Rawlings Street, it's another abandoned building. And I don't know if I can use this to show you the pictures. I would like to. This
No.
is like the second time I can't. That's only for.
Correct. You can email us pictures, or you can show me after the meeting.
I'll show you after the meeting, and I'll email you guys.
Okay.
So I complained about the garbage and trash 2 weeks ago, and it's still at the same property. The fender, the trash, the windows broken, it's still there. So I know we're focused on the town green, and we want it to be beautiful, but all of Snellville needs to be beautiful. I know the property, according to Mr. Ross, it belongs to Gwinnett County, or the Department of Transportation. Thank you. Department of Transportation, not Gwinnett County, get it right. But if we're still responsible for cleaning it up, I mean, we should clean it up. We're not, so trash just supposed to pile up.
The Georgia DOT owns the property. They are responsible for cleaning it up, and we have been in communication with them about not only that property, but those other properties on that hill, and also the detention ponds that look terrible. And they are refusing to give us the ability to go in and landscape those areas. So until we can get that from them, we cannot do anything. We are working with them. I mean, we are trying to keep it in front of them. So you can come and you can complain to us all you want on that one. We are working on it, and we are handcuffed.
I definitely will be here every Monday to complain about it until we get it moved.
If you could turn some of that energy and start calling the Georgia Department of Transportation, that would be helpful.
I will go all the way up the chain, all the way to our chairwoman.
Perfect.
Not a problem.
Not the chairwoman, this is the Georgia Department of
I
Transportation.
understand, but I'm gonna let
Russell
everybody
McMurtry.
know.
Yes,
I will let every elected official know that who we pay our taxes to,
perfect.
I
Thank
will
you.
let everyone know. That is not a problem.
Thank you.
And let's see, you mentioned the cop cab. I didn't hear you, I was in the back. You said it was funded for the repairs and whatnot. Who funded that?
Snellville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. It's a very long name.
Not a problem. I just didn't hear it. I was just trying to write it down. Thank you for that, sir. So the question to that is that cop cab, is that a city property or is it a personal property?
It belongs to a nonprofit.
It belongs to a nonprofit.
I
So I would like in
no,
writing.
It's a, no.
Yes, so
Yes.
I would like it in writing because I've seen it at a resident's home. So is that resident a nonprofit? So I would like that in writing. Who does the cop cab belong to? If we are the taxpayers giving money to that car,
No, there's no taxpayer money. It is all donations.
it's all donations and it's a nonprofit. So I would like in writing the details about that cop car. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann LaFavor, and I'm representative of the family. My address is 35 Patterson Road, Suite 465, 293. That's Lawrenceville. I'm here because my grandmother used to always say, a hit dog will holler. I am the day-to-day operation for Juneteenth. I've heard a lot of lies about the event. Let me be very clear. Last year, every elected official up here had an opportunity to participate. We had one city council person attend. We also knew the mayor couldn't attend because she was very clear what happened. A week before the event, after my organization was told we had city participation, the city pulled out. This year, at our first meeting, we were told the city would not participate. That did not stop us. We still had an excellent Juneteenth. I didn't see inclusion with this council. And then we have council saying lies have been told. That is so true. Lies totally have been told. Because Juneteenth is a black celebration that's nationally honored, and we've had two in Snellville. And both times, lies were told, attacks were made. I want to be very clear. Everyone was invited. We saw members of the community. We saw city council folks. Matter of fact, we had one city council folk that stayed basically the whole while. Now, it comes a point when we have to stop placing the blame, stop lying. Juneteenth is open to all people. All cultures were there. Everyone had a great time this year. They did last year. I heard lies about bags or that we didn't celebrate fathers. We celebrated last year and this year all fathers that attend. We recognize black fathers because it's a black event. So my history is very important to me. It's very important to this community. And if we can celebrate 100 years of Snellville and not include black people that were here in Snellville, there's a problem. It's called not being inclusive. So when you sit up here and attack a city councilwoman that made an effort to be inclusive and try and tear her down, break her down, oh, I'm gonna speak, but my way of speaking is very verbal because just like I posted the truth about the lies that were told before, I can assure you, I will post the truth about why Snellville is seeming to have an issue with Juneteenth and certain council members. There's a problem. We can do better. We should do better.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kathy Emanuel, 1313 Temple Johnson Road. Just a point of clarification, the cop cab was not funded by the Alumni Association either. The cop cab has totally been funded by private and corporate funds. So just so everybody's really clear, there's no city money, no alumni money has gone into the cop cab. It's been all private donations, so just.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will close the public comment and entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That is 6 in favor with none opposed. So we are done. Thank you all for coming out. Drive home safely.